Hello, everyone. Welcome to No Drama, Just Movies, and we are back this week with another TV review. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned with all the content we produce each and every week in the world of TV and movies. My name is Cameron. Our prophet has come back, Kelly Smith, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague here.
I'm Phil, the Young Avengers Cohen.
Oh, that's right. I want to get an explanation for that, actually. The Young Avengers. I'm very intrigued. But anyway, of course, if you haven't guessed it by now, but you would have based on the title of this video, we are here to review none other than episode 3 of season 3 of the season 3? Episode 3 of season 2 of The Last of Us on HBO. Season 3, obviously not for a little while yet. We've still got 4 episodes left of this season. So obviously this episode was the fallout episode. It was the aftermath of the moment that broke our hearts, the moment that, as we said on our review, was a masterclass in devastating the audience, I believe. So what was your initial thoughts of this episode coming off of that moment?
I like that they took like a step back a little bit and slowed it down a little bit again, because it would have been a little bit exhausting to have that episode and then another episode like that. So it's nice to kind of take a step back, breathe, see where we are, and yeah, go from there and like just plan what is the next step. So I enjoyed that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I am in agreement with you to an extent. Like, I think like this episode, once again for me, just like reiterates and reinforces how much of a ensemble heavy show this is in the best ways possible. I love these characters. I love who they've casted as these characters. I love their chemistry. The moments between them are so special. They mean so much. It's so well written. Obviously, this is a Bella Ramsey led episode, and rightfully so because she's tremendous. I've found a new favorite character in Gail, who is absolutely amazing. Everyone's favorite psychotherapist. I think it is just, they just made a few changes or a few things here that are different from the game. But I do want to reiterate, I wasn't the biggest fan of The Last of Us Part 2, the story of the game. And so them making changes doesn't necessarily really bother me. But it's just interesting to see if they work or not and how they will play out. And obviously, one of those things I'll hop right into it being obviously the 3-month time skip, between Joel's death and where we pick up. I know obviously you didn't enlighten me previously as to, why you thought that actually worked. And I guess it did. I just, to some degree, I struggled to believe that Tommy would sit on it for so long, that he wouldn't just go after Abby and, the rest of her crew. But I'm enjoying where we're going so far. I'm enjoying where we're going. There was obviously one scene specifically that really stuck out for me.
Pretty
And
dope.
Oh, what now?
Before that, I do want to quickly hop on the Tommy thing, because it did make sense to me that he waits. He's gonna wait. One, he kind of says that he doesn't want to like just jump into it, even though his brother just died or was murdered. But he's got a community to rebuild, so he needs to do that first. And being on the council, he has that responsibility, I think, to not just, go after his brother's killers, but to kind of look after the people because other people died as well, right? Joel wasn't the only one. And they also need to like figure out what they're going to do next as a community. So he can't just, again, just run off. So it made sense to me. I kind of bought it.
Yeah, I do get where you're coming from, in all fairness. And I am intrigued to see where Tommy's journey goes from here. I am very, of course, intrigued to see where Ellie and Dina go from here. Ellie by herself, Ellie and Dina, of course. And I'm very interested to see once again where my favorite psychotherapist, Gail, goes. Because
The Gail show now.
it's the Gail show now, because she, for me, had one of the most beautiful scenes that I felt it was so well performed, it was so well written, and it posed, I think, a very interesting and fascinating question, which we did discuss, at least to ourselves previously, before this recording. But, she talks, Tommy obviously goes to her and he expresses his concerns over, if Ellie is going to go down the exact same path as Joe or be like Joe, especially because he's essentially the one that, well, kind of raised her. And you know what I mean by that, obviously.
Yeah.
And, Gail goes on to talk about, how you can only nurture so much, that nature is, the main factor here, and alludes to, or not even alludes, she straight up suggests that, Ellie has always been like this. So, that vengeful, that revenge driven part of Ellie has always been there. And that is Ellie. And I thought that was fascinating because obviously, we discussed if that has always been the case. Because I remember specifically there being a real turning point in season one where that came out of her, but a that was more an outcome based on the world that she's in and what was necessary for her to become in order to survive in it, rather than this always being her nature. But then I also do think, that scene in season one, I can't remember what episode, where, Joel does turn around to Ellie, as Ellie's obviously trying to bond, and trying to, be cool with him. And, he says, you're cargo to me. And it is interesting because that then goes to the very beginning of season one where, Ellie doesn't come from, this, well, unfortunately, this loving upbringing, this loving family. She's had it tough her whole life. And so maybe as a result, Gail made some sense there. But what was your thoughts?
I do think that Ellie has a problem with attitude, right? But she didn't start out as someone who's vengeful and just kills cold-blooded. I think she got there, I guess, by nurture? No. Yes. By she was taught that, right? Survival, and you have to sometimes kill to survive as well. And if someone kills your daddy figure, then you have to avenge it, right?
I don't know why I find that so funny.
I could have said father figure, but it is Pedro Pascal, so we can go with that one. But you know what I mean? Like I like where she's kind of going from that sort of, because I remember from the first season when she kills the second person I think she kills in her life. There is that moment of shock, and there is that moment of like regret, and it weighs a bit on her. And to send her from that to, getting ready to kill these people, kill the fireflies or wolves, Abby and her people. It is an interesting journey, and I wonder how far they're going to take it. So I'm there for it, like to see where Ellie goes and how brutal she's going to get.
Yeah, I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. And that extends into just like the opening once again of the world of The Last of Us, and where I think we're going to go in terms of being introduced. Obviously, we get introduced to the Scar people. Scar people. We get introduced, we're getting introduced, to many different factions. Obviously, I believe next week we're getting much more of a delve into the WLF. So I'd imagine that will be kind of again a bit more of an Abby focused episode and crew. Obviously, finally, good old Jeffrey Wright is making his return as Isaac, and so which I believe he was the leader of the WLF, if I'm not mistaken. And so that's going to be an interesting one. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one. Yeah, I'm just intrigued to see where this goes. And I'm intrigued specifically to see how much more of Abby will feature in the rest of this season. If, and, for obviously, once again, that's a game thing. But obviously, with the game specifically, they do a very specific way of telling this story that wasn't pioneered by them. It was actually, for those of you who are gamers, a Metal Gear Solid thing way back in the day. They used the same tactic, and it seems like they might be using the same tactic here, that being of, spending the season focusing on one party, following the next season focusing on the other, and then we go from there. I don't know. But I'm very intrigued to see how much Abby is shown and her crew in the rest of this season, especially because there only are 4 episodes left, and those are in a flyby. It's not a lot. And so, yeah, but any other final thoughts on this episode?
So many. I love the writing in this one. It's Craig Mazin, I think, wrote this one. It's just there was one scene at the beginning. I wrote down some dialogue, like because I thought you see Ellie reacting to it, and when she's talking to Gail, she's very like sarcastic, and she doesn't really show any emotion. And you could say like, dude, your father figure, daddy figure, whatever, just was murdered in front of you brutally. Like, where's your emotion? But I think that's just what Ellie is. She hides how she really feels, but it still came through, and like little things she said, little things she did. And I wrote this line down, like, your final moment with someone doesn't define your whole time with them. It just made me think of like what they're talking about as well. Like the last time she saw Joel, spoke to Joel, that is, it was in anger, and she was shouting at him for like trying to do something nice, trying to protect her. And when she had the chance afterwards to kind of clear that up and make, you know, friends with him again, she didn't take that chance. And I'm pretty sure that weighs on her and she regrets it. And that comes out in that line because she feels like that feels like she wants to believe that. She's not too sure. She wants to convince herself that this wasn't like Joel didn't die thinking that she hated him. And that's how the emotion comes through. And I love that kind of writing. And as well, what stuck out to me is that moment in the tent between Ellie and Dina, when they're on their journey and they're talking just about the kiss and like their relationship and everything like that. And it made me think like, there's not a lot of infected in this one, or not at all, in this episode. And it still was a really like interesting episode, and because it lives so much of these relationships and the history these people have with each other. So stuff like that in the tin, stuff like Seth getting up and being on Ellie's side during the town meeting, where he says, yeah, we need to fucking go after these people and kill them. And then even like when he helps them out with the gear, with guns and everything. There's so much history between these people, and means suddenly so much, whether like the shift in how they interact with each other. And I love that kind of writing. It was like just really beautiful just to follow these people. It doesn't have to be all shooting and running around and monsters all popping up and there's action. It reminded me of the Bill and Frank episode in the first season, which was also very beautiful and like very infected light. So yeah, I can definitely, for me at least, live off these moments of just drama rather than action and horror.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, right? Because this isn't a show about infected, in theory. Whereas the interesting thing, however, is that in season one, that was much more in your face. Because the whole point is that, Ellie is the one who seems to be immune to
Yeah,
this, and they want to get her to the Fireflies so they can hopefully get a cure. In this season and in part two of the game, there is no talk of that whatsoever, which
yeah,
to a degree I did find a bit weird.
yeah,
And I still do find it a little bit weird because it's like, obviously, Ellie's so upset at the fact, or was so upset at the decision Joel made. But it's like, is there not even any effort to try and, you get this vaccine or get this cure going anymore? Or any even thought about it from someone like Ellie? But
to be fair, like nobody else knows. Ellie believes that, it didn't work or it's not going to work. So for all she knows, that's it. And nobody else knows that she's immune. So that's kind of, I guess, done. But I get what you mean. Like it's kind of like, oh, we've spent this whole first season dealing with she's immune. She can save the world basically. And no, that's not, not a thing anymore. And it's like, okay,
yeah.
yes. We're
Yeah,
all,
and also like just not the fact that she's not even willing to try. Like she does know that she is immune. She does know
yeah,
what Joel did. But at the same time, once again, as I said, this isn't a show even about that anymore. And I'm okay with that. I'm not complaining. I didn't like the story of part two of The Last of Us in the game. I've been waiting for this season to maybe give me a reason to look at it differently. And I am along for the ride. I am. And I'm really excited to see how they go because the performances are just so incredible.
I do want to quickly shout out the Scar people, I guess, whatever they're called, and the writing, I guess, as well in that because we get a very quick glimpse or like a of who they are, and there's so much information in just when we meet them. From the idea that each one of them has this scar thing. I don't know what that is, but we know that everyone has them, and it has something to do with like their community or like their beliefs. But we also know that their weapon of choice is a hammer for some reason. They communicate with whistles. There's so much information in that, and just how they set them up with like one of the first people we see is a child, right? And immediately I'm thinking, oh, they have kids, they have a society, right? And they care for these kids. Like he's explaining what the whistles mean, like he's teaching. So they strike me as the nice people, kind of. Maybe they are, maybe they're not. But I love just how the show managers or the writers manage to like quickly set these people up and make us kind of feel for them as well for when they get killed. And yeah, it's really good writing, amazing writing.
Hey, well, that's it. Well, I mean, let's give our IC review score out of
Yeah.
10 for this episode. I'll go first. I'm giving it 7.5 ICs out of 10. I think that this was a very good episode. I don't think it was great. For me, the second half wasn't as thrilling, but I'm still along for the ride. I'm excited. 7.5 ICs out of 10 for me. How about you?
I go much higher. I go 9 out of 10. Like, it is slower than the previous one, and it is hard to follow that up. But I think it did the right thing by taking a step back. And it's definitely a calmer episode, but it needs that. And like I said, I love the relationships between these people and how each one of them deals with that. So yeah, 9 out of 10 for me.
Hey, well, that will do it for our review of episode 3 of season 2 of The Last of Us. Come on, I got it right this time. Once again, we are No Drama, Just Movies. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like, comment, share, drop down in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts on this episode and what you think may be in store for us in the remaining 4 episodes. Once again, we are No Drama, Just Movies. My name is Cameron. Our prophet has come back, Ellie Smith, and I'm joined by my esteemed colleague here.
Phil. The Young Avengers, I still haven't explained it, but the Young Avengers, Cohen.
It's a riddle. Work it out. Hop down in the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts on that one. Once again, we are No Drama, Just Movies. Thank you very much for checking out our review today, guys, and we will see you very, very soon. Take care, guys.
Bye.